of the 5th edition. Join our various gaming groups as we play the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. And maybe just hang out and chat about gaming in general. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Hey guys, Jim here with Creative Playing Podcast Network.
And Kelly.
And recently, a friend of mine and I were talking about the upcoming August for hashtag RPG a day. And, you know, we all know how much we enjoy doing those every day. And I was actually challenged to do the 30 Days of Dungeons and Dragons challenge, which is pretty much the D&D version of the hashtag RPG a day, but slightly different and geared more towards the Dungeons and the Dragons. And we figured today is a good day to start that challenge.
Yeah.
It will be insane on August 1st through 4th when we have overlapping doing both. That will be insane.
What?
So I will post the picture of the GIF for the 30-day challenge just so everybody can see it and join in. I do believe John Ried's going to be joining in on doing some on I think it's just going to be posts on Facebook. But it'll be fun to see how those come up. So for the first day of the 30-day Dungeons & Dragons challenge, the prompt of the day is how you got started in D&D.
Well, I don't know, I had to have been about 9 or 10, probably 10, I guess. And there was a boy in the neighborhood, who he's like, you know, me, my brother, and my sister, we would, hang out with him. He lived a few streets down, and he's like, hey, do you guys want to try this game, Dungeons and Dragons? And we're like, what is this Dungeons and Dragons? Well, let me tell you. And then, we started, and he was our GM, and we loved it. We had a blast. It was, you know, and I guess he couldn't, you know, we were kind of new to the neighborhood, and none of the other kids wanted to play it, but we're like, yeah, we'll play it. We had fun. I remember one time, we actually, he was going to Rocky Point, Puerto Penasco, Mexico for, it was a holiday weekend or something. And he's like, can I take my friends so we can game? We're like 10 or 11. And it's like, well, if their parents, you know, gives the permission. And it's like, yeah, sure. So we're down on the beach, cause they had an RV, playing Dungeons and Dragons in Mexico. It was awesome.
Because that's how you get hooked into it. Mm-hmm. So for me, what started the D&D craze was actually not playing, but actually reading the Dungeon Master's Guide from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh.
I had some Christmas cash from back in the day when you were giving cash instead of gift cards or swipey cards at the bookstore. And I went to this one little section of the bookstore where they had this really cool hardbound book. It had a wizard doing a fireball thing with a dragon. Yes, it's the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. Really cool picture, got my attention. I picked it up, started reading it. Didn't even know what the whole game part was, but pretty much the pictures and the magic item descriptions kind of sold me on it. Not sure if it was a book or what at the time, but I totally picked it up and slowly converted friends to playing D&D.
Maybe that's why you're such a good GM.
That could be a good point.
Yeah, because that's how you started.
Mm-hmm. So instead of actually getting wrangled into playing, we learned on the fly how to play, and then we're like, oh, we're doing that wrong. Let's do it right.
Very cool.
So we were totally and then of course, came the playing with other players and other groups and, learning different styles of gameplay and different styles of GMing.
But that love for the books, I think, is especially been pervasive for you. It's like it's one of those things, it's fine to have PDF copies, but it's that, I used to just pore over the books. I just loved looking at the images and stuff. It was just, it would captivate you. And I think to this day, it's like you still prefer, the books in the hardback.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great because, so do I.
Except when the wall is piled up with books. But yes, I'm definitely a Dead Tree fan.
Well, don't put it that way.
And I'll totally throw it out there too. I think the reason why I was in that section of the bookstore is I was looking for more of the choose your own adventure books. The
I loved those
red and white cover books. And then it got me into the Lone Wolf adventure books, which is basically a fantasy version of Choose Your Own Adventure, but the concept was it was more RPG than Choose Your Own Adventure, which was cool.
Because Choose Your Own Adventure was, the D&D ones. There was actually a romance D&D one. I had it. It was so cool. I was a tomboy though, but it was like I had a whole bunch of them. I still have a copy of one of them. Oh God, it's with the water weird on it. Pillars of Pentagon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's been picked up and read. I will admit to that. Not in many moons, but it was picked up and read. Gotta love the old artwork in that because it was totally D&D style artwork back in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in the early days, children, gather around and let me tell you about how D&D had no budget and couldn't afford artists except for cover art, and you basically had to fake it till you make it with your own pictures.
Yep.
Blessed are the friends who are good artists to draw up your characters.
Yep. I still actually have a couple drawn ones from when I was a kid, closer to high school. But, of some of my characters. Yeah, my junior high, I still actually have them. A couple of those drawings. They're terrible.
But they're amazing because they poured out of your imagination.
Yeah. I think one was my mage, Lixel. Lyxyl. That was her name. Yeah.
So that's going to be day 1 of the 30-day D&D challenge. What got us started? What got you guys started? What is the thing that caused that spark to play D&D besides your friend grabbing you saying, come over for D&D night? I know many of my friends that have been dragged into the whole, hey guys, we got a seat free. You want to join? And they're like, I don't know about this D&D thing, but I'll give it a shot. And then the camaraderie sells them on anything else.
Yeah, don't believe what 60 Minutes said.
They say panic, panic.
Those of us who remember the 80, it's like, oh, really? Come on.
Hey, because I was playing D&D in those formative years back then when Mazes and Monsters came out, my dad sat me down and had me watch it, and he says, just don't do any stupid stuff like that.
Oh my God, that's one movie I don't think Tom Hanks puts on his CV there.
And if you haven't seen Mazes and Monsters, go see it.
I think you can watch the whole thing on YouTube.
It's either on YouTube or Amazon now.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely check it out. Alrighty, guys. We will say that's a good place to wrap it up for day 1. And tomorrow is going to be one that Kelly will enjoy because she probably had to fight to pin herself down to just one favorite playable race.
Oh, you're so right.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to D&D Journey of the 5th Edition, a member of the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Please follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/CPPN to never miss a show or stream.